Hollow Knight is my favorite game. Yes, welcome to Video Game Vibes. I did want Hollow Knight to be the first words uttered on our podcast. I am Grog, or SP, from Grog Games. This is my compatriot here, PatriotJax. Jax, say hello.
Hello. I didn't expect you to be talking about Hollow Knight.
Well, yeah, here we are. That might be happening every once in a while, so get used to it.
That's absolutely fine, my dude. This podcast, as it's brand new, you won't know what it's about, but we're just going to talk about everything games, from the news, what's happening right now, and we're going to deep dive into a particular game. And as you may have guessed from the title of the podcast, we're going to be talking about Stardew Valley a bit later.
Yeah, it's going to be super exciting, and I am looking forward to it, because you know a ton more about the game than I do.
It's not a new game. It's been out for a while, but it's a game that we both love and that we've played. And
absolutely,
it's a good one to start us off, and we hope you guys who are listening obviously enjoy Stardew Valley as well.
Otherwise, you wouldn't be here.
Before that,
before that, who are we? Jax, would you call us artists as YouTubers?
I don't know. I was just going to call myself a gamer. We're content creators, like a lot of people.
Yeah, we're small content creators mostly.
And good friends. Come on, dude.
Yeah, we've known each other.
Why wasn't that first out of the game? Hollow Knight. Come on. I'm offended.
Yeah, it's we've known each other 4 years now. 4 years, Jax.
Really?
Never met in real life. So and here we are, and we were like, hey, why don't we make a podcast and just talk about video games? On my channel for YouTube, we're both on YouTube, YouTube over Twitch, sorry Twitch. I mostly play indie games, sometimes I play Pokemon and some RPG stuff, Metroidvanias like Hollow Knight, you know, I just have a wide variety of things. And it's cool because Jax actually plays indie games as well, but he has a different perspective, right, Jax?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't grow up playing indie games. I wasn't, well, I'm a bit older, so there wasn't too many.
We're the same age.
Many of them about. So, and you know, I'm from the UK, so it was very Sega focused on the games. So we had the Sega Master System, we had the Mega Drive, we had all that sort of stuff.
I didn't even think of that.
Sonic growing up. No. So I played a lot of Sonic growing up, and then obviously, as the consoles got better, we had a PlayStation, PS2, then we moved to the 360, and then after that, PS4. Metal Gear Solid and Resident Evil were sort of the biggest series that I think have impacted me, and Legend of Zelda and stuff like that. And then when I started YouTube, that's when I progressed into sort of the indie games, and that's how I found out about games like Stardew Valley and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, it's wild to think that, and we'll talk more about Stardew, but it's wild to think that Stardew was made by a single person. One of the best indie gems of all time was made by a single guy. His name is Eric Barone, and he's, I don't know, dare I say genius?
I mean, I think that's the beauty of indie games in general, to be fair, because every so often you come across one of these gems that just blows up, and I don't think the devs themselves realise just how big it could have gotten. Like, you can name a few off the top of your head. You know, you got your Undertales, you could talk Hollow Knight, games that you don't necessarily expect to take off in that sort of way. And Stardew Valley was one of them. And like you say, yeah, created by one guy. It was freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Before we get deeper into
that, sorry, I'm excited.
You're excited to talk about Hollow Knight, I know, but we're not there yet.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're just going to talk a bit about sort of the news and what's been happening. And literally, as we're recording this, the Xbox and Bethesda showcase is happening right now. There's some interesting stuff regarding Hollow Knight on there, but we'll save that for next time.
Cannot believe it. Cannot believe it's happening to me right now. The trailer for it? Oh my gosh. Okay, anyway, Jax, go on. What's going on in news? Because I am oblivious and you are a shrewd knowledge expert on the matter.
Thank you, sir. The PlayStation State of Play dropped about a week or so ago. And there was just a couple of games that took my interest. The Resident Evil 4 remake, of course, which is a sort of a big game in my sphere, because I love the Resident Evil series.
Yeah.
I have a lot of thoughts on Resident Evil and Resident Evil 4 in particular. But it's only a teaser, and it just showed off not even some gameplay, just a trailer. It was very, It just looked very pretty, and I look forward to seeing that next year. But it was Stray, the game about playing as a little ginger cat.
Yes.
And I've already pre-ordered it now, so
you
I'm
did.
Playing it. Yeah, it comes out end of July, I believe. Where you're playing in this dystopian world full of like robots and stuff, and you're playing as this little ginger cat. And I don't know too much else about it other than the fact that it's got a freaking ginger cat in it, and you play as it. I'm going to be buying it.
That's wild. So like,
I know, right?
No one's controlling the cat. Is the cat just above intelligence, like higher intelligence?
It's sort of like no. It's like
it's just a little cat.
It's just platforming around.
Yeah.
And I've seen certain conversations with like robots and stuff, so it's interesting, and I'm kind of curious to see sort of where it goes.
You're right. Right.
Above that, we had stuff like the new Final Fantasy, Street Fighter, and then the spiritual successor to Dead Space, which was the Callisto Protocol.
Oh, that's what I thought I'd heard about that.
It was. I think one of the devs from Dead Space has made the Callisto Protocol, and it's very much space horror, and it looks really good. Actually, it looks really good.
Is it in the same universe as Dead Space, or is it its own side thing?
I wouldn't expect it to be.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure.
Okay.
But it looks really interesting, I gotta say. And the only other thing, this does not come out of the PlayStation State of Play, but it was from a tweet from the Five Nights at Freddy's developers. It's about the fact
the DLC. Yeah.
As it's DLC confirmed, called Ruin. I think it's coming out late this year, so
I did see the cover art. Yeah, completely free. Very good. I did see the cover art for that, and you are not Gregory, it seems, in the cover art.
Playing as some girl that I'm sure the theorists of YouTube will dissect and talk about for years. The only other thing I was just going to say is the Modern Warfare 2 trailer just dropped, which I believe is a reimagining, sort of a remake of the original Modern Warfare 2, which for a lot of people is their favourite Call of Duty in the entire franchise. For me, it's the original Modern Warfare 4.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, Modern Warfare 2 was the gem. And it looked... the campaign anyway. The campaign looks really good.
What do you do in the campaign? Is it World War II?
I think it's the focus on the characters that have been in the series. So as I say, I've not played the original Modern Warfare 2, so I'm not sure if it's a reimagining of that original campaign. But it does look very good. I think a lot of people are excited about it actually, because previous Call of Duties have not gone down.
Yeah, they've been a little cookie cutter, right? The last few years. That's what I heard anyway. I'm not a big Call of Duty first-person shooter kind of guy.
That was my Xbox 360 days coming in there.
Yeah, I always stuck to Halo and Xbox 360, so that's where my abilities lie.
See, I have the Master Chief Collection in my Steam library. I just haven't even played it. I bought it a while ago. I just haven't even got it out. And I played the original Halo. We had the original Xbox.
Your Xbox still works? The original one?
No. Saying that, in my old house, we found an old Xbox. I plugged it in and it came on. I was like, what?
Nice. I'm sort of jealous. I don't know where my GameCube is. That was the system I played the most when I was a kid. Good old GameCube. The best system.
The GameCube is the best. We're going off on a massive tangent.
And that's fine.
I'm okay with it. But the GameCube, for me, is just my favourite console of all time. It's not... Don't get me wrong, it's definitely not the best console, but it was just my favourite for the games that it had on it, and it never got the recognition, especially at the time, that it deserved. Because the PS2 and the 360 were doing so well.
Yeah.
But the games on the GameCube were just out as well, like Smash Bros. That was freaking insane, that game.
Sonic Adventure 2. Oh, so good. So we will get on a tangent to Sonic Adventure 2 probably every episode. So...
I'm not going to talk about Sonic Frontiers. We're going to save that for another day.
What if I wanted you to talk about it?
I can talk about that IGN trailer for days, but no, we will move on to what we're really here to talk about.
What we're really here for.
Stardew Valley.
Oh my gosh, Stardew Valley. Okay, Jax, where do we start with Stardew Valley? I'm going to let you mildly steer the conversation, and I'm going to pop in with the things that I wrote down as well. First off, the intro to the game I think is perfect, right? It lines up the game steadily for what it's about.
Like the game, like I don't think there's too much, to be fair, that's not already been said about how good the game is. But
Yeah.
obviously, the intro and the music and stuff and everything sets it up for what it is, and everyone knows it's hugely inspired by games like Harvest Moon and stuff like that. But yeah, you know exactly what's going to happen right off the bat, in terms of the farming and all that sort of stuff. But for me, what makes the game so special is how easily the game connects you with these characters.
Oh yeah.
Who, if you even choose to, you could ignore for your entire playthrough and not even get to know.
Yeah, it does a very good job of sucking you in and actually caring about what's going on around you instead of like mindlessly doing tasks over and over again. It seems like each task is meaningful in itself to get to a bigger point.
It's funny you say that because I'm at the point in the game. I'm 4 years in. I'm just going into summer. I'm into summer now. And despite, yeah, like you say, like I'm still, planting crops and doing all that sort of stuff, but it doesn't feel as taxing or as daunting as it did, obviously, at the beginning. It doesn't feel like I'm repeating it or like it's a chore or anything like that, because for me, I genuinely find games that have a time frame on the day, I kind of find them a bit like it gives me anxiety because I've only got a certain amount of time to do stuff that I want to do.
Yeah, I normally hate that.
Exactly. Yeah, I would just like procrastinate about what I need to get done in this time. But with Stardew Valley, not just with the music and stuff like that, but it doesn't give me that anxiety.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the opposite. It's like it doesn't matter if you miss a day or two. It's really not the end of the world.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for me that's sort of one thing that I contrast it a lot with Animal Crossing, mainly because I didn't really get into Stardew Valley until like the beginning of last year, really. And the game's been out since 2016. Yeah, honestly.
I don't know if I knew that.
I've had the game for a while, and then when I bought it on Switch, and I bought it on Switch not long after, because when Animal Crossing New Horizons came out on the Switch, that game was played by everyone for about 6 to 9 months.
Yep.
During COVID, when everyone was isolated at home and stuff like that. But that game got to a point where everyone was so sick because the updates were just not very interesting.
Yeah.
Everyone kind of got fatigue of it, and it stopped being interesting. And I was like, but I still want to play another sim game because I'm really into the simulation and the building and stuff like that. And I was like, right, okay, well I'll pick up Stardew Valley and I'll check it out. And I played it like non-stop for like 4 months, like every single day, and it was just amazing. And jumping back into it sort of a month or so ago, and I still enjoy everything that I'm doing. Like, so now my focus is on relationships, which I didn't really get into before.
Yeah.
And I do have a certain bone to pick with you, as I saw the Stardew Valley live stream, and I was talking about a certain girl.
You said that. Yeah, you said that. Okay. Well, we will get into. I'm sure all the characters are going to be a huge part of the conversation, but before we break into that huge mountain of character development, let's back up a little bit and talk about the intro of the game, right? So we start off the game pretty much like if you were working in real life, right? The game starts off where you are working at a corporate job, and it lines up perfectly how monotonous it is. There's rows and rows of computers, and you're just sitting there, another cog in the machine, and it gives you a sense of, I don't know, meaninglessness? Is that the right word?
I'd say it's incredibly relatable.
Relatable, yes, 100%.
So many people are stuck in jobs they don't like.
Yeah.
And especially given like the current context of the world at this point, with so many people sort of refusing to go back to work and stuff like that, a lot of people are taking charge of their lives, really, and a lot of people aren't necessarily going back to the jobs that they don't like, and they're trying to find other avenues of work. And you could say that the protagonist in this game is doing that. He's chosen, right, okay, rather than working this dead-end job that I hate, I've got a chance, I don't know, I'll work on this farm and see sort of how it goes.
Yeah, see what could happen. What are the possibilities? And the game does a lot in terms of possibilities for you. So you essentially get this letter from your grandpa, right? It's your grandpa who gave you the letter,
Yeah.
Jax? Yep. Your grandpa gives you this letter saying, hey, why don't you come up to the land? Because unfortunately your grandpa's passing away, which is heartbreaking. First off, just starts off literally like Up from Disney, where there's heartbreak from the start.
I played the start of the game because I just carried on my game. I was thinking about doing it at the start in a new game. I probably should have. Cause I've forgotten so much about the beginning of the game, just from remembering how difficult, not difficult, but how much effort it was.
Yeah,
watering one crop at a time.
It was bad.
The iridium like bucket, whatever that I've got now, the watering can that can do like 9 spaces or 12 spaces or whatever it is.
Yeah,
I don't even do that actually. I got all my iridium sprinklers. I don't have to do anything. that's how easy it is.
I don't know what that's like at all. I didn't even upgrade. When I was streaming, I was like, I could upgrade my watering can, but then I have to wait 2 days, and that's 2 days of crop watering that I would have missed. And then it's like, oh my gosh, my time management is not going according to plan. I'll just water it all by hand, and we'll see what happens. I'll eat some food or something. Backing up, you get to this farm. It's overrun by rocks and grass and trees, and it does not look like a farm at all. And you're like, Grandpa, what the heck happened to your farm? What were you doing? And you essentially start the game just getting rid of all this stuff that's crowding up your land. So then you can go ahead and start a farm, right? Because that's the point of the game. But in addition to that, there's also a town right nearby, literally, I don't know, 10 feet away. You'd think you'd like hear the noise from the bar and everyone else at night, but nope, your farm is still nice and quiet. And the game itself ties you into this other world of essentially peacefulness, I guess, tranquility, that is Stardew Valley, away from this corporate influence, this chaoticness. But then again, and Jax, you know more than I do about the storyline because you have more hours in the game, but there is an overarching storyline where it's more of like nature versus corporate or technology, and there is a grocery store, right, Jojo Mart, that is in the town itself and is sort of wreaking havoc on the town. Not wreaking havoc, that sounds super serious, but essentially influencing it negatively, right?
So yeah, it's the theme of and I think the developers sort of been on record as saying there's a lot of environmental themes in the game about how important sort of the environment is and the carbon footprint. I think that shows in some aspects of the game. But yeah, the main theme is about, because you have a big decision, like a big choice. You can choose to do the Jojo route, which I actually haven't done. Like most people.
Does anyone?
Exactly. They want to be a good guy, so they choose the farm, and they choose to help build the community centre and stuff like that rather than knock it down. The community centre's one aspect of it actually that I really like, and it's what got me back into the game as well, because it's sort of like many things. There's so many things you can do in the game. You can do the mines. You can go to Ginger Island. There's loads of different stuff. You can just fish all day if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
But the community centre's like a sort of underneath kind of, I don't know how to say it exactly. It's sort of like an undercurrent of a storyline that once you finish it, like forgetting the sense of achievement that you get when you finish it, which is great, but you get a big cut scene and all this other stuff that goes on. Obviously, you get all the rewards that come with it. But the sense of achievement, because you get to see the community centre, which I think is really good. The only thing I'd say is that you've made this amazing community centre, and the cutscene looks good, and people are all using it and stuff. No one, except maybe the mayor, goes in there after you've finished it. Which
Seriously?
Is the only gripe that I have.
Okay.
Yeah, no one goes in it, as far as I can tell. But that's not the point. The point is it gives you more stuff to do.
Yeah.
And it shows that you're committed to helping the town out, because it's this quaint little town that no one's ever heard of, and yeah, you're joining it as some nobody who's just been given the farm, and you know everyone's just sort of, they don't know what to think of you until you start giving everyone butter and flowers and presents and stuff. That's the only way you can get people to like you in this game.
Yeah, of course. Everyone's very materialistic in this game, for sure.
Haley.
My least favorite. Are we talking about characters already? Haley is not my favorite character.
I was just going to say, you can move on to Haley, because I just married Penny, literally 6 hours.
How dare you?
I must admit, the wedding thing was alright. I was expecting it to be a bit grander on the scale. And I probably should have changed my character's outfit for it. He was literally wearing his backwards cap like I am now, and a t-shirt.
It's so romantic.
And Penny was in a wedding dress. I thought there would be a cut scene with Pam, because she lives with Pam and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
right.
she's moving out, and Penny's sort of like the girl next door. She's had it rough. And
She is
works
the
really
girl
hard,
next door.
while
Yeah.
Pam is, going to the bar every night, going to the saloon or whatever. So it's sweet.
She is also my Stardew Valley waifu, so I completely agree with you. Loves books, loves children. It's I can't get more than that. Those are my buttons. I don't know.
I mean, it's funny when you move in and stuff, because I was like, the first after the wedding, she's literally just standing in one spot outside the house, just standing there doing nothing. I was like, "It's what it's like." Like, is this?
Yes, marriage.
I'm having it in real life, and I'm pretty sure they literally, they just stand outside the house.
Oh, they do.
But one time, I just woke up or whatever, and you talk to her, and she's like, "I'm just gonna stay in today." I'm like, "There you go. That's the life. Just stay in, do nothing." It's like, yeah. Don't worry, my farm will bring in the income.
I'll put the bread on the table, absolutely.
I will make the bread. What are you talking about?
Jax, I'm hopping on my segue now as we're talking about relationships on Stardew Valley. Let's talk about how the game makes you care about it a little bit more. Because I think it subtly throws stuff at you one by one to make you understand and like the game a little bit more. And the first thing it does to do that, I believe, is you get a letter from your mom, and she just gives you cookies right away. So every once in a while, you'll just start the day, get out of your house. Oh, it's a brand new day. Oh, what do I have? I have a letter in the mail. Who's it from? It could be from your mom, who's not in the game, at least from I know. I don't think you ever meet your mom in the game.
I completely forgot about those letters.
You forgot about the letters?
Yeah, no, I completely. Well,
it's such a nice detail.
Where she drops off like a birthday cake on your birthday, or cookies or whatever,
Yeah, I was playing, like you said, on stream, and she gave me a cake, and it was like 200 health, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know if I have this much health. That's amazing. And anyway, so there's this mailbox, so you'll wake up, and there'll be a letter either from your mom, or I think that's the only person outside Stardew, but you also get letters from people in town, too, even though they're right nearby, and they don't necessarily have to mail you a letter, but they do.
I mean, who could be bothered to walk these days, man? They should
That's
just
true.
get on a Segway, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can get a horse in the game, I'm told.
I've got one, yeah.
Oh, of course you
do. It depends on the route you choose, but I'd definitely recommend getting a horse.
Oh, yeah.
Just to save time. You also get a coffee machine, which speeds you up.
Oh,
and it gets you like a free one every day, like once a day. So that's really handy, actually.
How long does it last? Is it a long buff?
Maybe like 30 seconds to a minute. I don't really think, to be fair.
Still, though.
I've got too many to count now at this point.
Mail from all the characters, lovely. Then you're like cleaning off your land, doing stuff. All of a sudden, you get to decide if you want a dog or a cat. And then you just have a random dog or a cat on your farm, and you're like, okay, maybe I'm not in this alone after all. Because, like, if you're trying to put yourself in the character's shoes, you go to this town, there's this mess of a farm, no one knows you at all, right? They know your grandpa, supposedly, but no one knows you. They're not, like, overly welcoming, right? And, so the first real friend you have is your cat or your dog, and you're like, okay, maybe things could work out after all.
I mean, I'd say that the cat and the dog does add that sort of level of, okay, well now I'm like very responsible, because now I've got to look after this creature that's just here, you know?
Oh, so you took it in a negative way. You're like, oh my gosh, another thing for me to do? Is that what you thought when you got your cat?
No, it wasn't negative, because obviously I got a cat, and it happened to be ginger. Unless you could change it, I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah, I think there's like 5 or 4 cats that you decide before you start the game. Like, you can pick.
I made it my cat, Honey, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
So now, obviously, I'm emotionally tied to the game anyway. But no, the game does a great job of keeping you, sort of emotionally connected to it.
Yeah.
Sort of, especially as the events go on the calendars, like the fairs and all of that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, like you just went to the Stardew Valley fair.
I did. I
got mugged off by the colour wheel guy.
Oh my gosh.
You went orange for some reason.
Yeah, so explain it to the audience. There is a calendar which is 4 seasons, and it's 30 in-game days, right, Jax? 30?
Yeah, I think so.
30 days.
I mean, that would make sense, because it doesn't give you... There's not months, is there?
No, there's not
No,
months,
it's just
so
four
it's not.
seasons.
Yeah, it's not a normal calendar. There's not 12 months or anything. There are seasons which are 30-day in-game days. So essentially, for 1 year, it's 120 days, and at the end of a season, it'll change, and it's regular season, so it's spring, winter, summer, and fall, and you can get different crops within each season. So you're constantly going through new stuff and obtaining new items and doing things in a different way. And on this calendar, yeah, there can be random events, and I think there's at least 2 per season. Is that right, Jax? Something like that?
I would guess. I mean, I try and focus on birthdays, but I rarely look at the calendar. That's just like I've got a calendar. Yeah, I've got a calendar in the house, and I just don't look at it. It's something I forget, and I'm only reminded about events because you get like a letter in the post from like the Mayor Lewis, normally about 1 day before each of the events. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll swing by to that with something to add to it. Add to the festivities. Like there's there's a couple each each season.
Yeah.
I don't tend to find them that interesting. I think there's the one in is it like the Jellyfish Festival? I remember that one.
That one I have done as well. That was cool.
I was gonna say I remember that one being really cool, but a lot of the general fairs are kind of like
But it also like gets you in the right mindset of like, okay, I'm part of this community now, because during all these events every character is there, and you can go up and you talk to them and they're like, oh, I'm enjoying the festival, or I'm enjoying the activity and all that stuff, and it really makes you feel like you're part of this town essentially.
I think what does it for me are once you've given whoever enough presents, or you've talked to them enough times, and you get to another stage of a relationship with that person, it's the cutscenes that open your eyes to just what's going on in that family or in that particular person's life that really sort of gets me interested and gets me emotionally connected in those characters, because they're essentially NPCs, but by speaking to them and doing all this stuff, you learn so much more about them, and they all have their own sort of perspectives. But it's the fact that the game's cuteness and the game's little like you can see sort of the reactions on their faces and stuff like that, it makes it so cute and wholesome. Like I had one the other day which was, I was getting very close to Mayor Lewis. I gave him loads of
Mayor
presents.
Lewis.
You know, higher up on the food chain, if you know.
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm joking. But it showed a cutscene. Spoilers. It showed a cutscene, of him and Marnie like behind his sort of truck, and it was basically them two saying, "Oh, we can't tell anyone about our relationship" and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And obviously my guy's just sitting there behind the freaking truck, like listening in, and then the guy just walks out and goes, "I heard everything." And in these choices, yeah, I know, right? You get a choice to make whether you're gonna sort of help them out, or you're gonna be a douche about it, because Mayor Lewis was saying, "Oh, the town can't find out about us because of the position that I'm in. I don't want people to seem like I'm favouring you and, you know, your work or whatever."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I just want to tell people and stuff." And the choice was, are you going to tell everyone, or are you going to keep it a secret? And I actually was going to tell everyone, but I think for Mayor Lewis's relationship, I think it's better to keep it a secret. So I've done that. But that's one storyline in that character that, as you go on, will further progress. And I'm interested to see what happens, what goes on with that. Like, are they going to get married? Like, and that's the thing about these games. It adds these emotional connections that you don't expect to happen, because a lot of the time you might have given 20 presents to someone and they might have loved them, but you never go into their house. And a lot of the times the cutscenes are triggered by you going into that person's house.
Oh,
So
I didn't know that.
Maybe like 4 years down the line, when you replay the game again or something, or like in a couple of seasons, you then decide, "Oh, I'm just going to pop in this house, see what's going on." And then the cutscene plays and you're like, "Oh God, like this has happened," or like, and I just think it's really cool. Like, yeah, I've been giving out lots of presents, so a lot of cutscenes have been happening.
Yeah.
And it's those sort of emotional moments that really that I think's helped create sort of the level of the fan base that it's got as well, because people are sort of emotionally tied to a lot of these characters, and the game does a great job of doing that with, you know, very little actual. When you compare them to AAA games and how they create those emotional connections with the characters, and how this game does it, as you say, being made by one guy.
Yeah,
you know,
and there's
remarkable.
And it's another factor to that is there's no voice acting. It's all text based, so you're just reading these words, but still you're able to connect to the character, which is I think really powerful for the game itself.
It surprised me, I must be honest. It really did surprise me. Very much put Animal Crossing to shame when I went from playing Animal Crossing to Stardew. I'm not trying to crap on Animal Crossing.
No.
Like, I loved the game when it came out and stuff like that. It's
And
very cute and stuff, but I would, out of the two, I would definitely play Stardew over Animal Crossing if I had the choice.
Someone asked me on stream the other day, what's your favorite Animal Crossing character? And I was like, I have no idea. There's like 300 Animal Crossing characters. And that's another good point to what Stardew does, is it's like the perfect amount of NPCs. There's like 30 NPCs, I think, total or something like that. And it's like...
There isn't too many.
There isn't like a ton, but there's... I think 30 is a lot. That's a lot of people still. So it's enough that it's like... You remember everyone's names mostly.
Populate the town to look realistic enough, hasn't it?
In Stardew, there's just enough characters and NPCs for it to feel real, but also for you to care about them and know individually for each person. Or like you said before, you can, maybe I don't like this person. I'm never going to talk to him. It's fine. Not a big deal.
It's like a light touch, you know? It's like the lightest of touches in terms of what the developer's done. And it just fits what the game is. And I think that's the characters really make it, you know. Let's not forget about how good the gameplay is in terms of a farming sim, you know. And this game has helped to inspire so many other similar games.
Yeah.
There's a lot that are coming out this year and next year as well that have been talked about that look and definitely have some inspiration from Stardew Valley because of how big the game got. And nobody really quite saw how big it was going to get, but it really is something special.
So, Jax, let's talk a little bit about gameplay stuff now, because we've talked a little bit, but we haven't got in depth. And you are the expert here. So,
why do you keep saying that?
Because, okay,
you're picking me up and I don't
I mean, you're pretty good at the game.
You want the vibe versus, you know.
I have, I think in total 60 hours in Stardew Valley. So I have an okay amount, but I have not gotten that far at all. I love the game.
I don't know my hours. I can have a look.
You should look up
right here.
Yeah,
okay,
look up your hours right now while I'm explaining what I'm about to explain.
Okay.
So I think Stardew has a very good, I like to say, intricacy of parts. It's intricate. Everything is interlocking together. What do I mean by that? So there's tons of items in the game, right? Like tons of items, but it's not like this set item does this thing and that's it. There's a lot of ways that the items go together. So for example, you can find and get a mayonnaise machine. Like you'll just level up and then all of a sudden you'll be able to craft a mayonnaise machine. And I'm like, oh my gosh, didn't know I could make that by hand, but excellent. Okay, I can somehow make a mayonnaise. Great. So I craft this mayonnaise machine. Oh, but wait, I can't craft it yet because I have to get the parts for it. So therefore, I have to get, I don't know the recipe off the top of my head, but it's like stone, and I think there's some iron or copper in there somewhere. So you have to get those, get the crafting materials to make the mayonnaise machine, and you're like, okay, great. What is mayonnaise? I don't know what mayonnaise is. I really don't. How do I make mayonnaise? Oh, I have to get an egg, is what I found out after going through. I think I looked up on the wiki occasionally. If you want to, I didn't. I don't like mayonnaise in real life. This is not a joke. So I was like, okay, how do I get mayonnaise? Okay, I need an egg. Where do I get an egg? Oh, I can get an egg from a chicken. But it's like, oh wait, how do I get a chicken now in the game itself? And it goes on this tangent of like, I have to do this to get this, to achieve this, to finally get mayonnaise. And to finish that, yeah, you got to build a coop to get the chicken, to house the chicken, then you got to feed the chicken, and the chicken lays an egg every day. Then you have one more task daily to go in to get the egg, to put in the mayonnaise machine to make mayonnaise. And it's intricate, but also very fulfilling, right? Jax, does it get more complicated than that later on, or does it get easier?
I wouldn't say stuff like that gets too much more complicated, but you're taking an example of something that is something that's sort of real life in a supply chain, and well, it's saying supply chain, but in like it's sort of sequential item progression.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you say, to get this, you have to get this, and this, and for a lot of it, it's straightforward and makes sense in how you do it. And obviously, it's based on your levels and stuff like that, but it's also based on sometimes on the people that you talk to and how you engage with people like Robin and stuff like that. And they can end up giving you blueprints for stuff like that that you might need. But yeah, as you progress, you get more stuff that's less, shall we say, realistic. Like you have iridium, you know, and you can get like scepters and like loads of just like different stuff that's not real. So obviously you don't just think. If it was me, I would be like, okay, well, I need eggs for mayonnaise. So I probably need some chickens to do that. But for the most part, it's like it makes sense how it works, and it's not too grindy.
Yeah,
that's the thing I would sort of say. It's not a grind doing it. Look, you don't feel like you're stuck doing one thing for like an entire season.
Right.
And that's the thing it does. It breaks up that, because there's so many other things that you can be doing. And if it rains one day, that's great, because you don't have to worry about your crops, and you can go off to the mines for the entire day and see how far down in the mines you get and stuff like that. It's 145 hours, by the way, so it's not a whole lot when you compare it to like the Stardew Valley fandom. Like there's
Stardew Valley fandom is huge.
Like it's like some people like people that speed run the game. Like I say, we talk about the Twitch rival stuff that happened. You know, there's so many more people have played this game much more than I have.
Still a large amount of hours. Still very good.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do realize I maybe made that sound negative, but I wanted to phrase it that it is a positive thing. It's like once you get that mayonnaise machine, you're like, oh my gosh, this seems so fulfilling. I had to do all these things just to get this one thing, and it's just a good sense of accomplishment. And you know what? If that's not your thing, that doesn't mean this game's not for you. You can literally do anything. Jax,
getting mayo is a good thing, because
getting mayo is a very good thing. Yeah. But I mean, you don't necessarily even have to do the thing that gets you the most money if you don't want to. Jax, would you consider Stardew Valley an RPG technically, or just have RPG related elements in it? Because I think we haven't described the cave too much, and I want to get into that just for a little bit.
I would probably say it's predominantly a farming simulator.
Yeah.
But the RPG elements are decent. You know, there's not too much of it. It's one aspect of the game, so probably overall you probably wouldn't say that it's an RPG. Would you, if you were doing a YouTube video, would you tag it as one thing? Maybe you would. I mean, but talking about the mines, they're one aspect that obviously I really like. You know, a lot of people like stabbing slimes with swords. This game gives you the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I was surprised the first time that I played, really. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm farming. What's this thing? Oh, I get a sword now? Hello? I did not know that was a thing you could do. And you could essentially just not even farm. You could be an adventurer. You could just go off in the cave every single day if you wanted to. I
mean, you could. I mean, it's not going to last too much. You can get decent amount of money from stuff down there, but I think to not farm, you're it's going to be a hard time trying to buy new swords, if you like.
That's true.
But yeah, what I like, to be fair, is I knew going into it that there was an element of like fighting and stuff like that. And the mines are really good, and obviously it's a progressive thing, but they eventually do end. And then at that point, what did they do? They made like they had the Calico Desert, and in there is another cave, which I believe is an endless cave. At least I'm pretty sure I've spent an entire day there with freaking just bombs, so you can drop down in holes rather than ladders, and it takes you down like 7 or 8 levels. I think I've gotten down to like level 70 in there or something.
Oh, jeez.
Maybe there is an let me know, guys, if you do. But yeah, that's sort of an endless one that just keeps on going, and it's obviously much tougher.
Yeah.
And then you have Ginger Island and the volcano in Ginger Island, which is sort of another type of dungeon, if you like. It's not quite as long, but it's quite difficult. Like the difficulty level really ramped up in there.
Okay. I guess I want to go off on another side point here. Do you think the game does a good job of introducing other areas? Like, there's only 3 other areas in the game, right? I knew there was a desert, but I had no idea what Ginger Island was. Do you think the game does that appropriately? Is it needed? Or, like, is it just something that, like, isn't necessarily... detracts from the town, I guess?
No, because what you've got to bear in mind is that this game was pretty popular right out of the gate.
Yeah.
So, and the developer, the Concerned Ape, has continuously developed the game, and he's very in touch with his community. And so, Ginger Island, I believe, was another certain update to the game. Calico Desert was probably the same, because once people got to the end of the mines, he sort of thought people wanted to do more adventuring stuff, so they created Ginger Island, which you can go onto on a boat once you do a certain thing. I can't remember what it was. And then Calico Desert, which you can get a ticket to, or Warp Totem, which you can actually get a recipe for those, actually. So I need to do that, actually. I don't think it detracts from the town or anything like that. It's just another thing for people to do. And I think what we have to bear in mind is that this game came out in 2016.
Yeah.
So likely the version at the time was probably just the town with the mines, and then it was Calico Desert, and then it was Ginger Island. So the game's still evolving, it's still updating and stuff like that. And obviously he's working on a new game, The Haunted Chocolatier.
Oh, yes.
Which is, I believe, set in the same universe as Stardew Valley.
And it's more RPG focused, right? I heard that it was more monster fighting than farming.
It's not farming essentially, but obviously you're working in a haunted chocolate factory, if you like, a chocolatier.
Wild premise.
Interesting, if nothing else. But so you get shields and stuff like that, and you can I think you can upgrade gear, and it's slightly more RPG focused. But obviously it still has that simulation element to it. No release date yet, though.
Yeah, but that's going to be very exciting. We'll see if that turns into an instant classic as well, but I would not be surprised for the people that wanted to play Stardew but want to be more RPG focused. I think people are going to fall in love with it.
It's a smart direction to go in, and it's obviously going to improve in certain elements, but it's its own game, so it's not going to be necessarily the same. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe there was a way you could end up going to Pelican Town, or someone from Pelican Town might visit.
Oh, that'd be so cool.
That would be kind of cool. That would not surprise me one bit. There'll be Easter eggs about, like,
Shane.
Oh, there's this wizard guy called Rasmodius. I heard about him and blah blah blah, or something like that. There'll be loads of stuff like that, which the fandom will just eat that up.
Oh yeah. That'd be super cool if just, like, on a random day, while you're making chocolate or whatever you're doing, just Shane walks in and he's like, hey, this is a weird chocolate factory we got here.
The one guy who's, like, the most miserable freaking guy in the whole place.
Hey, I like
Shane. Talk to me. He's just like, don't talk to me. It's like...
Yeah, well, he needs to open up. He works at JoJo Mart, so of course he's miserable.
I mean, I haven't seen his cutscenes or anything. I'm sure there's stuff going on.
I need to work on him some more. I just need to give him a few more beers and then he'll be fun.
Out of context, that just does not sound right.
Let's move on to sound design. I think the first thing that I would like to say about sound design is that it is literally so good. It's just so peaceful. My favorite sound effect, I think, in the game is going to the pier and just fishing and listening to the waves. That is my favorite sound effect in the game, is the waves just slowly crashing, and you're just there, and you feel like you're actually on a beach. Because I do a lot of fishing in the game, so I'm at the pier a lot, and that's just my favorite place to hang out in Stardew.
I do think the placement of music and the choice of when to not play music, I think is actually really clever. Because I'm going to now compare and contrast Stardew Valley with another game. It might seem a bit odd, but just
okay.
Humour me.
Rolling with
else.
it, yep.
It's probably because I have a like Breath of the Wild, basically. Like I've always been someone who has said that Breath of the Wild wasted its opportunity with the music that it has in the game, or rather, its sort of lack of music. Now, sometimes it will, like Stardew Valley, it will pick moments to have very little or no music. And for me personally, I think that when Stardew Valley picks those moments, like it picks it when it rains. So, for example, I've got a jukebox, like a mini jukebox that you can change the songs. Basically, you can play whatever you want on your farm,
okay,
or wherever you put it. But when it's raining, there's no music playing, and it doesn't let you play anything because it wants you to hear the rain. It wants you to hear the weird noises that occur, and it's those noises and stuff that just like it makes sense and it feels right based on how you would feel if you wanted to go out and do stuff and it was pouring down with rain, and you're sort of a bit like, oh, okay,
realistic, yeah,
and like, but when it's a sunny day and you walk out during summer or spring and you just hear that freaking music just drop, it is so motivational, and it's just like, wow, I'm ready for the day. Why don't I have my alarm clock in real life to one of these Stardew Valley songs? I might do that after.
I'm actually doing that now. That's how I want to wake up every morning.
I pick the first summer track. I can't remember what it's called, but the first summer track when you wake up, and it starts with like a little like drum beat or like castanets or something. It's really cool.
Yeah.
And it just, as soon as you leave the door, it kind of just, the beat kind of drops and it goes into it. And it's just, love it. I absolutely love it. The sound design is perfect. It knows exactly when to hit you with sort of the right tones and the right themes. And yeah, I don't think there's too much that sort of needs to be said. Everyone loves the Stardew Valley soundtrack. There's no doubt. People love the soundtrack. The music is phenomenal. It's just, I think there's something, as you said, to make a point about when it chooses to play those music tracks and when to just have silence and just the ambient noises, like you say, of the like crashing waves and stuff like that.
Or like the crickets at night too. Like, I think another example is like early on that cutscene where is it Linus is the homeless guy who's in town?
Yeah, I'm good friends with him.
Yeah, he's like rummaging through trash bins for food, which is just obscenely sad. But I think at that point, there's no music at all. It's just like the ambience of like crickets and stuff going on, and it does a good job of like cutting everything and making you focus on that character and care about him.
And I'll just bring back to my point about why I'm contrasting it with Breath of the Wild, is because there's moments during Breath of the Wild, bearing in mind it is an action game and you're just kind of walking around, but there's like a couple of piano notes but not really a lot else. And this is coming from someone who loves like Ocarina of Time, and I've played a lot of the N64 Zelda games and stuff like that. I love the game itself, but I just feel like they could have done more with the music, and I think their choices of when to play their good tracks, I think they could have done more in certain areas, and I think Stardew Valley hits it perfect with where they put their music, and just the music itself. Like, it's just the tracks are just great. Like Calico Desert's track is freaking great. Like all of it, like it just nails it 9 times out of 10. It's perfect. I just love it. That's my in-depth take. I love it.
Stardew Valley, Breath of the Wild. You can't see my hands, but one is higher than the other. Okay.
Music. Right.
Oh my god, it's so hard to talk about Stardew though, Jax, because there's just so many things to talk about. Like, I think one last point that I want to touch on is the mechanics. I think do a very good job, and by that I mean the stamina system and the time system. Like, for people who have not played the game before, when you wake up, it's a brand new day, right? But certain amounts of minutes go down as real world minutes go down, and it's not 1-to-1. I think maybe it's like is it 15, 20 minutes for a single day, Jax? Does that sound right?
I have absolutely no.
Something like that. So essentially, you only have so much time to do a day. It makes a day feel like, okay, I need to achieve this in the day. But the thing that also conflicts with the day is in the bottom right-hand corner, you have a stamina bar. And for each task that you're doing, it depletes a little bit of your stamina more. And it's not everything. It's not like talking to people depletes your stamina. Although, you know, IRL, that's a whole different thing.
Be surprised.
But
in the early game, I'd say that's a massive problem.
Right.
As you progress, it stops becoming an issue, I'd say, because you craft enough recipes for your energy to just never go down.
With sprinklers and stuff. And one thing I found, like, during the festival, too, is you can get a star fruit, which increases your stamina. And I honestly, I don't even think I knew that. So, there's ways to get around it. And as you play the game more, like Jack said, you can get things like sprinklers or things to make it more easier. But in the beginning, do you think it's good how they do like an incline slope of how it's harder in the beginning and later on it gets easier? Or do you think like when you start a new game, first off, is it too difficult?
I think it's fair. And I think it's good because you may get the odd new person who plays the game who might look at it and go, "Oh my god, are you kidding?" Like I have, like I can do like 6 watering can sort of motions, and now I've got to go to bed again. Like,
I've cleared 2 rocks today.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I think that you want to see it get easier, and I don't think it's too discouraging. I think it's kind of good actually in a way because you're rewarded by doing all of that stuff, all that difficult stuff, like all that takes so much time in the beginning. When it becomes easier, you're like, now I don't have to worry. Now I can focus on other things.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'd say your first sort of 4 seasons, like your first year in the game, is probably the hardest. And then after that, you get to a point where it starts becoming easier. You have more sprinklers. You don't have to worry about things as much. And yeah, I think it's definitely fair. And I think it's balanced really well. One thing I would say about the mechanics, and I don't want to go on too much about it, is how good the fishing mechanic is.
It's so good. It's so good.
There are so many games that can't nail fishing mechanics. Like,
I completely agree.
In RPGs, if fishing is one aspect of the game that's like in Stardew, a lot of the time it will either be too easy or nearly impossible. And Stardew's, with its little bar and how much the fish move depending on like rarity and stuff like that, I think it nails it quite well because as you get better fishing rods, your chances of catching them increase because you have a larger bar to work with and stuff like that. So you've still got that level of progression, but it's still not easy or straightforward at that point if you've got a really difficult fish you're trying to catch.
Yeah.
So the balance is there, I think.
And also, there's random treasure chests when you're fishing too, which is always fun because you'll like have the fish half caught, and then all of a sudden a treasure chest will pull up on the screen, and you'll have to hover your cursor over it to get it. But then you can't have the fish there, so you're not catching the fish. You're focused on the treasure chest, and then you lose the fish. It's always a fun time. But if I get a diamond from that treasure chest, oh boy, is it worth it! Yeah, I honestly love fishing in games. It's literally like my go-to minigame. For a while for streaming, we used to do a dumb thing where as soon as we got to like the 14th lake, I would switch games and play Stardew or something else just so I could fish until I got a 15th lake. It was just a dumb inside joke. Yeah, did you not know that?
I must have missed when you were, fishing.
I stopped doing that. I started that with a World of Warcraft stream where it's like, okay, as soon as we get to this, I'm just gonna go to the beach and fish until we get another lake. But
I wish I played World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft is You did.
Yeah,
you did.
On that, man.
I don't know. Let's see if the next expansion's any good. I hear it's gonna be pretty nice. So I don't know. I would hate to get back into it.
They brought back all the classics, didn't they?
Yeah, technically you can play the classic again. Yeah.
This is certainly a tangent. Anyway, right? Let's get back to the final point of what we'll talk about, and that is that I only recently found out from just doing some research. So a lot of people will know. Stardew Valley can do esports. Who knew that a farming sim could be an esport? But I found out about the Stardew Valley Cup, which I think is just on its own. It's just a brilliant idea. But
so it's who makes the most money, right?
It's basically set up by Twitch rivals, and so a bunch of different streamers together work in groups, and they complete a large number of challenges. So it's like a set number of different challenges that earn that are on a point system that was created, and this was all done by the developer of the game to reach out to the fandom, which I think is really cool.
Yeah,
I think it was done about 9 or 10 months ago, the Stardew Valley Cup. But just the idea that you could turn a farming sim into that. Don't get me wrong, like, I know that there's like speed runners that play the game and stuff like that. Like, people try and complete the community center in like one season and stuff like that. It's crazy the things that people can do now. But I think the idea that it could be an esport, and if it could be like something that would be like Fortnite or something like that compare for esports, I just think that the idea of that is insane. But I think because of the community and the fandom that it has, it's allowed it to get to a point where people are saying, look, we could do this. Let's do this. Let's do a Twitch rivals thing. And that's what the developer heard from the community.
Yeah.
In trying to do this thing. And then the group that won it got a $40,000 prize, I think, which is really cool.
Build their own farm in real life.
That would be so cool. But yeah, so each of the groups sort of coordinated. They had to think strategically about what tasks they would do when and how they would do them and who would do them. And I think it's really clever, actually. I look forward to trying to catch if they do another one, which I imagine they will, because this one was such a success. I think a lot of people wanted to see more teams, because I think there was only a handful of teams, so maybe a bigger prize pool or something in the future. But I think that's just really good. And he done it just to give back to the amazing community that made the game so big and popular. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, no, it's an important point that the developer has his pulse so much on the community and actually cares about the community to that extent that he would come up with basically a new way to play the game, and that's what the people wanted. I
mean, yeah, I'm sure that the community had had a certain idea about it, but that's the thing about indie games as well. It's their connection to the fan base. That I'm not saying that AAA developers don't have a similar one, but you feel like with a lot of them that you don't see their responses to the community that want to play their game. Like, a lot of people want to play the game and they want these bugs and issues fixed, or they want hackers removed from the game. And a lot of the time, you get developers who just don't care.
They just want to make money.
They only care about the bottom line, man. And I think, Stardew Valley is an indie success story, and I'm sure that the Haunted Chocolatier and if the game Stardew keeps getting updated, which I'm hoping it does, because I'll keep playing it. It'll be it'll keep going. Be one of the best games. But does it pass the vibe check?
It is now time for our part of the podcast called Vibe Check, where we decide, does this game pass the vibe check? Yes or no? Jax, I would like to start off with a very solid yes. I think, who wouldn't? It would just be absurd if our first episode we didn't have a game that passed the vibe check. I think Stardew Valley is solidly a perfect game. You could put so much time into it and do so many different things in the game. I definitely want to become a fisherman during a run and literally don't even touch my farm at all. I could make all my money off of fish if I wanted to. I will absolutely do that. I think I'm level 8 right now on my current file for fishing, and I am enjoying it very much. But I know I could play the game a variety of different ways. Each playthrough I could talk to a variety of different people and go through the mines in a bunch of different ways. There's just so much to do. And there's so many different aspects as to why this game is great and passes the vibe. And I full-heartedly think that this was the best game to come up for our first episode.
Mate, Stardew is a vibe. It really is.
It's such a vibe.
A good game. Like, I'll just bring up one point. a lot of games and a lot of sim games always, and I say always, but a lot of them always, like, a lot of them don't think about the quality of life in, like, certain mechanics of the game. Like, the little things that can be so annoying. Like, when you think about Animal Crossing and the fact that you can't you can't craft multiple things all at once. You know, that's a quality of life change that I can't get over. And it's never been changed, and Nintendo haven't done anything about it, as far as I know. Because I haven't touched the game in, like, a year or so.
Yeah.
But Stardew, its quality of life in its, like, in being able to craft loads of stuff at once, like, just little things, like there's the bugs that aren't there, and, like, I don't ever find that I'm having an issue with something. Like, I guess the only thing I can think of is that when I'm trying to ride my horse up the stairs and someone's walking down, like, we block. Like, I'm blocked. I have to move out and let them walk. I have to let them do their NPC walk to wherever the hell they're going, which is fine. It's kind of, that's the only thing I can think of that's kind of annoying about this game. Like, that is such a little thing, and, you know, that's their AI, you know, mapped walk. They have to do that. That's fair enough. I'm not going to phase through them. It's less realistic. The game, is it going for realism? Probably not, but it, you know, it's. I can't really say too much.
Semi-realism. Yeah.
Vibe check.
Obviously.
It's a great game. You know,
If
everyone knows it.
Jax, successful first vibe. Now is the part of the podcast that we like to call Vibe Versus, where me and your boy Jax, we play a game before the podcast, and whoever wins gets to pick the next episode, I believe, is how the rules are made up, right, Jax?
It's a little challenge we thought we'd put together.
Yeah, just a fun little thing.
You can catch the recorded versions of our little round, and for this round it was Fall Guys. They'll be up on the channel as well. So if you care to watch how I unfortunately
you lost in the fourth round
and I lost
to a very challenging map.
What was the map? What was it called? Come on, you know the names.
Pipe Dreams, Pipe
Dreams, yeah.
Something, yeah. I think Pipe Dreams. It's the pipe one.
I think I was at the end. There were 3 spaces left, and I thought I just had to go. You already made it by this point, and I had to make the jump for that that thing you have to grab on and hold on to.
The trapeze, yeah.
Yeah.
You missed by like just a little bit.
By like an inch, and that was just it. I was done. I was done.
I think you just got anxiety at the end because you didn't want to wait for the trapeze to come back so you could grab it, so you just jumped too early.
It would be nice if I could then say Grog went on to get a crown in this. Well, he got a crown in his first, in a sense, because he got a victory over me.
Yeah.
The first 5 verses, but next time, hopefully I'll be able to make it 1-1.
I got third. That's fine.
You got third in the jump showdown.
Yeah, jump showdown is always just fries my nerves, man. Like, it's just so hard because it's like I either have to time it out with everyone, or like if someone touches me once, I'm gonna die, and that's exactly what happened. But you know, that's okay.
Oh man. Well, I'm glad we won't be playing Fall Guys next time.
Yeah, we will not be playing Fall Guys next time.
We'll see. So yeah, come back for the next one where you'll find out what we played and how it went, and hopefully I didn't lose and Grog isn't 2-0 up.
Or I'll be 2-0.
But that's going to do it for our inaugural episode. Good word. Inaugural, that, you know, I'm trying to get my vocabulary up, man. We're doing this thing.
Yeah.
In our
gotta sound smart.
Our first episode of the Video Game Vibes podcast. We hope you guys really enjoyed it. Let us know if you want us to talk about a particular game.
Yes, please.
Yeah, and always feedback's always appreciated. If you can like, favorite, 5-star, review the podcast, we'll really appreciate it. But until next time, we'll see you in the next one.
We'll see you guys next time on Video Game Vibes, our podcast. So long. This is Grog.
Love that outro, dude. Bye, everyone.